Good afternoon.
You are welcome. Are you done setting up your equipment?
Yes, we are.
Okay, can we be seated? Can we be seated, please? Apart from the cameraman. President Chanda here? Yes. Come.
Maybe telling them to
Do a laptop.
to just but why did they take
All right. Good afternoon again, and welcome to the Tonse Alliance media briefing. My name is Sean Tembo. I'm the Tonse Alliance spokesperson. I'm also the party president for Patriots for Economic Progress. And before I proceed, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the acting Tonse chairman, Professor Dan Pule. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of the acting Patriotic Front president, Honorable Given Rwinda. And also I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Tonse Alliance Secretary General, who is Honorable Raphael Nakachinda. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of Tonse Alliance presidents present, as well as other members of the Council of Leaders, as well as yourselves from the media fraternity. The structure of our press briefing today will be such that we are going to begin by unveiling the newest members of the Tonse Alliance. We have two new members of the Tonse Alliance, and one is a political party, another is a member of the civil society fraternity, and at this point, I'll call upon the acting Tonse Alliance chairman, who is no other than Professor Daniel Pule, to proceed with unveiling the newest members of the Alliance. Thank you. Professor.
Thank you so much. The acting president of the Anchor Party, President Given Honorable, welcome. I acknowledge President Tembo, our party spokesperson. I acknowledge President Edgar Munya, the president of New Era Democratic Party. And I'm glad to acknowledge the Tonse Alliance General Secretary, who is also the General Secretary, Secretary General of the Patriotic Front, the Anchor Party. I acknowledge Honorable Frank, Patriotic Front, a member of the Council of Leaders of the Tonse Alliance. Is also the winning campaign manager for Peter Oke. Members of the press once again, and through you to speak to the nation. At this point, I want you to know that as Tonse Alliance, we are so delighted that despite the tough situation obtaining in this country against the opposition, and the opposition, we won the Petauke by-elections. We want to thank all the leaders that led us in this victory. We want to thank the people of Petauke for believing in us, and we believe that this winning is a foretaste of what is to happen in 2026. I want to say that Tonse Alliance did not win both Kawama and Pambashe by-elections. There was serious unfairness, and we will allude to it later on in the statement. And I'm so glad that the people of Pambashe didn't celebrate, the people of Kawama didn't celebrate when those elections were announced that the UPND had won. They did not celebrate. But look at the celebrations in Petauke, because the people's will was carried out there. We fought a good fight there and won. But we'll come to that later on. Let me take the opportunity first to welcome Mr. William Banda, who is representing the All People's Congress Party, APC. The president of All People's Congress would have come, but he's not in the country. Honorable Musoni, many of you know him. But Mr. William Banda is going to represent the All People's Congress. Please, and don't know how we shall do this. I think I will have to vacate this.
No, if they sign from here, the documents are there.
He will sign, and then when he makes remarks from the media issues, that's not the only thing we want to. Okay, go ahead and sign the document, but we want him to be as well. Okay, please go ahead and sign the.
So you want him to come and sign from that side?
No, to sign there, and then because it's going to work. Yes. Say one or two things. You can make the remarks. Okay. That's Mr. William Banda. You know, there are shortage of names in the East. We know some other William Bandas. He's one of them. This one is our William Banda, the SG of All People's Congress, signing the alliance contract constitution. Besalungwe, 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 oh Besalungwe, oh Besalungwe, oh Besalungwe, oh Besalungwe. Mr. William Banda, welcome. Let's give a special welcome to our newest speaker. Come and stand here and say some remarks for the sake of the
right on the existing protocols. Honored guests, esteemed members of the Tonse Alliance and fellow citizens. It is with profound gratitude that and great honor that I stand before you today on behalf of the President of the All People's Congress Party, Mr. Nasser Musoni. I extend our heartfelt thanks to the Tonse Alliance, embracing us and providing APC with an opportunity to be part of this dynamic coalition. This alliance represents a powerful testament to the unity and collaboration that our nation so urgently needs. By joining forces, we harness the strength of our diverse perspectives, bringing us closer to achieving the common goal of progress and prosperity for all citizens. We are eager to contribute to the shared vision of the Tonse Alliance and are committed to working collaboratively, ensuring that our collective efforts will lead to the meaningful and lasting change. Together we are stronger, and together we build a brighter future for our beloved nation. Thank you once again to the Tonse Alliance for this opportunity. We look forward to a fruitful and successful partnership. Thank you so much.
Before I call the next new member, I want to acknowledge that as an alliance, we are expanding, we are growing. There's no alliance like this. We are basically the main opposition alliance in Zambia. The results speak for themselves. If you follow the results in Chagwa, in Pambashe, and of course now, the victory in Petauke. I want to acknowledge the People's Pact collaboration, alliance with the Tonse Alliance. I know Professor is here, Professor Nelson Go, representing the Tonse Alliance. We are very proud of our collaboration with the People's Pact. There are political parties there and organizations who are members of the pact, who have made now the Tonse Alliance bigger than we were. Thank you so much. We want to acknowledge another recent member. We haven't yet unveiled the president of the FDD, Forum for Democracy. And you know, Mama Nawakwi, some of you know that she's recovering at home. But we want to say how proud we are to have welcomed the FDD in the Tonse Alliance. The Vice President, State Council Chifumu Banda, is somewhere here. He's in the back there. Where are you? They are the two of them, they look like twins, except one of them is yellow. One of us. So we want to emphasize FDD participated in to represent the alliance in the Pambashe by-election. That's a major thing. When we needed someone to step out, they did. And we are glad that they are with us. I want now to welcome Mr. Ibrahim Mwamba. He is the president of Southern Africa Students and Youth Association. Mr. Ibrahim Mwamba.
The elephant.
Please go and sign. He's going to sign the Alliance Constitution.
Those are just what they were born in.
As you can see, he's not the only youth. We have several youth organizations that are with us here, and their leaders, and their leaders are also here. We place importance on the youth in this country. We are saying to the youth of Zambia, the only way to go is the Tonse Alliance. And we have a youth MP in Parliament from Petauke. Thank you. Please come and say one or two things.
afternoon. Fellow Zambians, I'm thrilled to announce that we, the Southern African Student Development Association, we have officially joined the Tonse Alliance movement.
Yes.
As the president of Southern African Student and Youth Development Association, I believe that this partnership will amplify with the Tonse Alliance team, contributing to the movement's effort to bring about a better Zambia for all. I thank you very much.
Congratulations. Welcome to Tonse Alliance. I now would like to call upon Lesalungwe. Oh, the beautiful voice. Lesalungwe. Oh, Lesalungwe. Oh, Lesalungwe. Oh, Lesalungwe. Oh, Lesalungwe. Lesalungwe. Lesalungwe.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So that was the introduction of the newest members of the Tonse Alliance. We have one political party and one NGO. We shall then proceed to the substantive issues of the press briefing. We particularly have 4 topics for discussion. The first issue that we are going to address this morning, or is it this afternoon, is the issue of the change in currency, the currency change that was recently announced by the government of the Republic of Zambia. The second issue that we are going to talk about is the Petauke and the Pambashe round of by-elections. That will be the second issue. And then the third issue from there will be the issue of the Tonse Alliance in terms of where we are coming from and where we are going, and how we've basically the visit of the UN Special Rapporteur. So that will be the fourth and final issue that we are going to talk about this afternoon. I will address the first issue of the currency change, and then the acting president of the Patriotic Front, Honorable Given Rwinda, will proceed to address the third, or rather the second, third, and fourth issues. On the issue of the currency change, as Tonse Alliance, our position is that government should consider suspending this move of introducing the new currency and go back to the people for greater and wider consultation. We saw that the government through the Bank of Zambia did not consult anybody. Everybody is totally blank about this introduction of the new currency. Not the Bankers Association of Zambia, not the Zambia Association of Manufacturers, not any trade association, not the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants. All the key stakeholders are totally blank. And our argument is that when you talk about the currency change, this is something that is going to affect each and every Zambian. So there is need for government in dealing with public policy to consult the citizenry. If you can't consult each of the individual 20 million Zambians, at least consult the representatives of these people. And these are the trade associations, the professional associations, the various institutes that exist in this country. And government did not do that. And for us, we have a very big objection in that regard. And that relates specifically to the issue of the design of the currency. When you look at the design of the proposed new notes, freedoms and liberties as enshrined in our constitution. So they reflect us as a people and where we are coming from, where we broke off the chains of colonialism and slavery to be where we are today as free citizens of this republic. So how can the freedom statue be removed from our currency without consulting us, the owners of this nation, the citizens? So that is our number one objection. The issue of the design of the proposed new currency. There was no consultation. Also, how can we have a currency where the only key features there are animals? As if Zambia is a national park. Zambia is made up of people. And some of our citizens are notable citizens. Some of them have been presidents, some of them have been freedom fighters, and so on and so forth. When you look at the roads across this country, 99.9% of the roads in this country are named after people. We don't have a lot of roads which are named after animals or birds or fish. We don't. So there must have been emphasis on recognizing the people who have built this country up to where we are today through the new notes. So that is the issue on the design. The second issue where we have a bone to chew with the introduction of the new currency is the dysfunctional manner in which this new currency was introduced. We had a situation whereby the Bank of Zambia, which is the central bank, introduced this new currency. They unveiled specimens of this new currency without cabinet approval. And then 2 days later, cabinet then stepped to the podium and said they are approving the new currency. That, countrymen and women, that is just a small snippet into the bigger picture of how dysfunctional President Hakainde Hichilema's government is. They are failing to get right small issues as to procedure, as to the fact that cabinet must approve policy before that policy can be implemented by any state institution. So that, when we talk about the level of incompetence of the current administration, that is just one of the many examples. The last bone of contention that we have with regards to the introduction of a new currency is the failure, or should I say refusal, by the central bank governor to acknowledge that he has failed to do his job. The job of the central bank in any country is to implement monetary policy. And monetary policy, among some of the basic objectives of monetary policy, is to control inflation. The central bank governor, in his speech, when he was introducing the new currency, admitted that the introduction of the two bigger notes, failed to proceed to admit that he had failed to do his job of controlling inflation. And countrymen and women, this is against the backdrop of our various submissions to the central bank and to the governor himself, where we have told the governor from as far back as 2021 to say his approach of fighting inflation is not effective. The response of the Bank of Zambia to fight inflation has always been to increase the statutory reserve ratio, or the SRR, that is on one hand, and then on the other hand, to increase the monetary policy rate. And their argument has always been that that will curtail inflation. But clearly we have seen that inflation has moved from an average of 8.5% in the 10-year period that the PF were in office to an annual average of 16.8% as we speak. And that is the reason why when you look at the JCTR basic nutritional needs basket, it has increased from about 5,200 kwacha in 2021 when the UPND took over office to 10,850 kwacha for the month of January this year because of inflation, because of the governor's failure to control inflation. And our contention, countrymen and women, is that the Bank of Zambia governor has failed to admit his failures, and he has further proceeded and failed to resign from his job so that we can look for another competent Zambian to go and do that job. And if the governor loves his job so much, despite his incompetence, why can't the president fire the governor for his failures? So those countrymen and women, those are the three bonds of contention that we as Tonse Alliance have with regards to the introduction of the new currency. I thank you.
Give him a hand, give him a hand. Thank you, party spokesperson. I call upon you again.
My apologies, sir. At this point, I will proceed to call upon the acting president of the Patriotic Front, Honorable Given Rwinda, who will proceed to take us into the three other key issues that we are discussing this afternoon, and that is the issue of the Petauke Pambashe by-elections, as well as the issue of the human rights abuses that we have seen in this country, as well as the issue of why the Tonse Alliance is the key vehicle, the main vehicle, the only sustainable vehicle that can deliver us to victory in 2026. Mr. President.
Thank you. Members of the press, would you like me to stand or to be seated?
Seated is okay.
Seated? Thank you. Chairman of Tonse, Secretary General, spokesperson, presidents and leaders of the Council of Leaders of Tonse, and members of the press. I'd like to join others in welcoming you, members of the press, and in thanking you for taking interest in matters of the Tonse Alliance. Members of the press, through you, I'd like to address our nation. We had a meeting this morning, and I was asked by my colleagues that I should present our deep reflections on a number of issues. The first being our reflections on the electoral outcomes recorded in the two recent parliamentary by-elections. These elections produced two different outcomes. While we recorded what appears to be a loss in Pambashe. In both these scenarios, what is common is the evident collapse of credibility in the management of our electoral process. Whilst the victory in Petauke may be hastily misconstrued as reflecting the professionalism of the ECZ, allow us to give context here that the victory in Petauke was actually birthed by entrenched voter protection mechanisms employed by ordinary supporters of Tonsi Alliance. It had nothing whatsoever to do with the professional conduct of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The numbers there were only as a result of the resilience of the ordinary young voters, particularly young voters in Petauke Central Constituency. For anyone that cares to follow trends in the holding of elections in our country, it has become an undeniable fact that the ECZ's failure to confirm or announce our victory past midday in Petauke after the voting day is nothing but a political scandal in the history of our country. The Electoral Commission of Zambia refused to announce the numbers in Petauke long after they had finished counting in all polling stations until after midday the following day. From their conduct in Petauke, as Tonsi, we believe that ECZ facilitated the holding of an election, but its top leadership seemed to have been devastated and seemed to have detested the outcome of the election. This, in our view, is a serious indictment against the overt bias and UPND leading ECZ. It means that we won in Petauke because of the vigilance of the local people who stood up to defend and protect their votes, and not because of the numbers ECZ announced. It also means that in Pambashe, we lost as Tonsi Alliance, not because people did not vote for us, but because UPND heavily rigged using different methods. In addition, the efforts of the local people to protect their votes was overpowered by the UPND violence and their rigging machinery in collaboration with the Mwangala Zalomis-led ECZ. Therefore, as Tonsi Alliance, we want to put it on record that the by-elections in Kawambwa, Petauke, and Pambashe were not free and fair. Hear me well. The by-elections in Kawambwa, in Petauke, and in Pambashe were not free and fair. In these by-elections, ECZ did not act professionally, nor did they act neutrally, as the legal requirements. For this reason, we demand that President Hakainde Hichilema immediately removes and replaces the chairperson of ECZ and Commissioner McDonald Chipenzi and other commissioners who are known to be partisan members of the ruling UPND. We cannot continue to have an ECZ which is manned and led by non-party card-carrying members of the UPND to superintend over national elections. National elections are not UPND elections. Mwangala Zalomis qualifies to be chairperson of the electoral committee of the UPND, but not the national ECZ. And if indeed President Hakainde Hichilema swore to defend the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, he ought to do what is right, to make sure that the Electoral Commission of Zambia is truly independent, not only in practice, but also in leadership. it is repeatedly becoming clear that as long as ECZ is headed and administered by non-UPND cadres, Zambia shall never ever see free, fair, and credible elections. And if Zambia shall never ever see, test, or even witness free and fair elections, then the question that arises is, where is our democracy? If a few individuals are going to determine the outcome of results of elections at the exclusion of the will of the people, then the question arises, what has happened to our democracy?
Yes.
What is it that our forebears fought for? If the concept of one man, one vote cannot count, then what is independence? We in Tonse call upon the conscience of the many million Zambians out there to start questioning ourselves. Shall we allow one man, because of his insatiable appetite for power, to take us back more than 60 years in history, into the days when a few were the ones who were determining the leadership of the many? Shall we stand by and watch as Hakainde takes us back to the colonial era? And now, not to be ruled by a foreigner, but to be ruled by a foreign stooge. At this moment, we in Tonse would like to thank the people of Kawambwa, the people of Pambashe, and people of Petauke for their resounding support for the Tonse candidates. Wherever we went in Kawambwa, wherever we went in Pambashe, wherever we went in Petauke, we were met with warm people. People who believed in the spirit of the Tonse Alliance. People who were mourning the incarceration of their elected members of parliament. As for Petauke, people who were mourning the sad disappearance of their young member of parliament. And people told us, batuletele chirangwa, tatulefwaya umbi. Batuletele chitotela, tatulefwaya umbi. Atiletele jeje, tufuna lini umeakine. That was the message from the people. And they said to us, the Tonse Alliance is the one that is giving us the opportunity for the rebirth of our members of parliament. The loud celebrations we heard in Petauke and the sorrowful silence we witnessed among the people of Kawambwa and Pambashe after the announcement of the election results is the true reflection of the true mood and the attitude of the people of those three constituencies. The people of Petauke celebrated, yes, because the result reflected, but only a small margin of what they wanted to see after they voted. On the other hand, the people of Pambashe, the people of Kawambwa were gripped with grief and disbelief that their votes did not count, that their will was not allowed to be expressed by the ECZ. This is the reason why in Kawambwa, when the results were announced, in Pambashe, when the results were announced, it was like the two constituencies had received funeral messages. everybody went about in a very sorrowful and somber mood. That is the reflection of the mood and attitude of the people. They were crying not only for the incarceration of their members of parliament, but they were also crying by the fact that their will was not allowed to be expressed. We want to thank the people of Zambia for standing by the Tonsi Alliance and giving us the support they gave us. We received financial, spiritual, moral support from people from across the country. And for all of them, we want to say thank you. And we want to assure them that the Tonsi Alliance will not let them down. We shall beat this ground working hard to make sure that the will of the people one day shall be expressed. My dear members of the press, countrymen and women, the Tonsi Alliance, as you are all aware, is a political baby, an infant, born only on the 7th of November 2024. However, this is a baby that was born with a full crown of teeth. This is a baby that was born running. And this baby is a moving vehicle, and it is here to stay. This can be seen, countrymen and women, from the participation and performance of the Alliance in the last 3 by-elections. In those 3 by-elections, Tonsi has clearly demonstrated that it is an alliance that is bound to win, and to win big. Yes. It is an alliance that has won the political trust and the faith of the Zambian people. Yes. Make no mistake. There are some of our supporters who for the time being are saying, I shall give you support, but I'll do it quietly. And there are many. Yes. There are some who have not yet plucked sufficient courage, but there are also many out there in the countryside, in Petauke, in Pambashe, in Kawangwa, who are willing to face the wrath of the UPND by coming out openly and saying, I am Tonsi. Right. Those of you in the leadership of Tonsi, I want to assure you that the people who are on the ground on our behalf have said to me, fear nothing, because the people are behind you. Yeah. So far, our people through by-elections have given us confidence by showing that this alliance is the platform of the common man and the solution provider to the economic and political pain that Zambians have endured at the hands of a pathological liar, Bali Muntuabufi, who was elected on the basis of false promises, who was elected on the basis of creating an illusion in the minds of the people. And like every illusion, it fades away very quickly. And this illusion that was created by Bali Muntuabufi faded away even before the ink that he signed to swear office dried up. He gave us all sorts of false promises. Even on his inauguration day, he showed us that he was not coming to rule this country for unity. When he encouraged people to boo and jeer at his predecessor, rather than encouraging them to give him respect. On that very day, the Lord Jesus looked upon Zambia and said, cry, my beloved country. Countrymen and women, It is time for us to make a clarion call to all those who are still outside or sitting on the fence, that the time to side with the people's movement is now. Don't wait. The time is now. The time to join Tonse Alliance and to be part of the 2026 government is now. Don't wait. This train is a gravy train, and it is running. It's picking up momentum to a point where if you wait too long, you'll not be able to run fast enough to catch up. So jump on it now, before it is too late. This is a moving train. Let us all join hands in an effort to liberate our people come 2026. We do this not for the sake of Tonse. We do this not for the sake of any individual member of Tonse. We do this for Zambia's posterity. We do this for the children of Zambia. Yes. We do this because we're determined to restore the dignity and international acclaim of our country and its democratic credentials. We do this because we cannot afford to see Zambia's international position being lost because of carelessness of governance. We do this because we're determined to continue to be the shining beacon of democracy, not only in Africa, but internationally. That is a duty that each one of us has, a duty to ensure that every Zambian can stand proud and free. Let us all join hands to fight and remove this UPND government. The pain it has caused to all of us is unbearable, to the extent of wasting taxpayers' money to change a currency which has not caused any havoc to anybody. You change currency simply because you want to be remembered to have changed currency. Which is that is none of the promises that was delivered during the campaign. And you don't fight inflation by changing currency. No, you improve the economy. And you spend colossal amounts of money to bring in higher denomination values, purchase. If the cost of a loaf of bread is 30 kwacha today, when the highest denomination value currency is 100 kwacha, it will still remain 30 kwacha even if you bring a 200 kwacha note. It won't change. As a matter of fact, it might change because the money you're going to spend on printing that currency is going to fuel inflation. Correct. So instead of fighting inflation, you are raising it. And for those who are playing around with this matter and saying, some people have snatched kwachas away in their bedrooms, so now they'll be caught up. There is a 1-year period on which to change that money. 1 year. Who will fail to change, even if somebody snatched away money, who will fail to change it in that 1 year? So what are you achieving? You're achieving nothing. This goes to show that we're being governed by self-concerted people who have no interest whatsoever in the welfare of the people. Time has come for you in Tonse to mobilize the people of Zambia to make sure that the people of Zambia starting now must have only one anthem, 2026, Haga India, Zwa. Need I remind you that Tonse means together. Tonse means all of us. This therefore means that all of us in Zambia must rally behind Tonse. Countrymen and women, the recent visit by the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Speech and Association of the UN is a very serious indictment against this government.
Yes.
The rapporteur came to Zambia, not at random. No, it was not an accident. No, it was not as though it was scheduled. No, she came to Zambia because of all the numerous reports of human rights abuses that are reaching international organizations such as the United Nations. That's what caused her to come to Zambia. This gives credence to our persistent demand for opening up the democratic space. We have said time and again that the democratic space in Zambia is shrinking. We have never experienced the level of repression that we're experiencing now since the reintroduction of multi-party dispensation in our country. Every other day we have someone arrested for merely expressing their dissatisfaction with the status quo insofar as the governance of this country is concerned. The Constitution of Zambia demands that every citizen defends the Constitution.
Yes.
That is a duty, not only a right, it is a duty, a constitutional duty for every citizen to defend the Constitution. But when somebody speaks up and says, the Constitution has been breached by such and such, they are arrested. Tonsi Alliance is saddened that for the first time in our country, our courts are now loaded with many politically charged cases against opposition leaders for purported sedition and hate speech. And yet, unfortunately, seditious speech, hate speech, only seems to come from one part of the political divide. When somebody is arrested for hate speech, if you ask where they belong, it is the opposition. When Raphael Nakachinda says, take Amata Kopanshi, it's hate speech. When Batuke Imenda calls Archbishop Alik Banda Lucifer, it is okay. When Raphael Nakachinda talks about the Lenges, it is an offense. When Douglas Sagalima speaks about the Ushis of Luapula, it is no offense. What is happening to our country? Examples include not only Raphael Nakachinda, but they include even members of the clergy. Pastor Sinchimba comes to mind. Yes. Pastor and President Danpure, seated next to me, comes to mind. Various priests and pastors have been harassed for what they say on the pulpit, to an extent where even some Catholic priests are meant to justify their homily. In which country does that happen? For a priest to deliver a homily and to be obliged to go public and justify what they said about God. The list goes on. My brother here and spokesperson of Tonse is a regular customer, President Sean Temple, only for expressing his views. President Edith Nawakwi, even in her ailing state, she's dragged into court, she's dragged into cell, only for expressing her views. I did not even talk about Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. The man is away on official duty and the police are looking for him in Zambia and they're claiming he's seeking asylum. How can the police talk about their citizen in such a fashion? What about poor Chilufya Tayari? On the run, and now he's even getting confused. He doesn't even know where he belongs. All because of state harassment. What about Munia Zulu, member of parliament? A person who's elected to speak on behalf of the people inside and outside parliament is being followed for what he says. What country is it that would see that a serving member of parliament is abducted and after that he is at large and the state doesn't even make any passionate appeal for his return? Instead, they declare a by-election. Shouldn't Zambians be concerned that one of their elected members of parliament, his whereabouts are not known? Shouldn't the government invest in ensuring that that member of parliament is safe where he is? Instead, the government goes ahead and says, we're going to declare a by-election because we want to have the seat.
And then they lose it.
What about Thomas Ziambo, or whistleblower? And I want to remind you, citizens, whistleblower existed even during the time of the PF. And whistleblower and Thomas Ziambo criticized Edgar Chagwa Lungu. They criticized the PF. But at no one time did we treat them in the manner that they're being treated. No. Because then we knew that the Zambian people have the right to question the decisions of their government. And the manner in which they question their government is not subject to scrutiny. It is the questioning which should be answered. Instead of concentrating on the content of the questions, you are concentrating on the method of questioning. No. To that list, you can add why me. And I want to emphasize that the Patriotic Front will stand by any person who we believe is being unfairly treated. Not that we condone the vulgar language they use. No, we don't. We shall counsel them. Like we cancelled Waini, and we continue to cancel him because we in Tonsi Alliance believe that one prodigal son must be brought back to the crow. It is our duty, our God-given responsibility to make sure that we counsel our children and form them in the manner that God would like them to be. We should not condemn them to death. No. To the list, I can add other people. Chanda Nonde from Munyaule, for instance. And what about Tishimba Kamwini? Brebna Changala. Did I remind people what Tishimba Kamwini used to say about Edgar Chagwa Lungu when he was still president?
Imagine that.
Can you imagine if Tishimba Kamwini was to repeat those words today? I wonder what would have happened. I have said before, and I want to reiterate what I've said before, that it was a godsend. It was God's own providential goodness to say, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, step aside, so that people can know who you are.
Exactly.
Because then they were not able to compare, but now they can compare.
Yes.
So now the Zambian people are believing what we said. Not everything that glitters is gold. Dear countrymen and women, a random perusal of facts across all these issues will show you that Hakainde Hichilema and his UPND government is a paranoid and politically insecure government. It's paranoid and politically insecure. And because of that, it has made it objective number one to stop and curtail anyone that dares to point out that there are many inadequacies. A strong character is one who engages in open dialogue and accepts criticism. A weak character runs away from those who point out their ills. Even in ordinary life, weak people only go to those they can control. Strong people are the ones who go to those who can control them. This government has shown us that it is not capable of facing criticism because it is a government of paranoid and politically insecure people. This is a dark spot in our cherished democratic dispensation and must be stopped by ensuring that Hakainde and his failed party do not get another term on the 13th of August, 2026. In conclusion, I want to emphasize, for the sake of those who are still doubting, I want to emphasize that the plan B that was announced by the Patriotic Front and by President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is the plan B for Tonse. It is the plan B for Tonse. And make no mistake, no one person, no grouping of individuals shall determine for us in Tonse who our presidential candidate is for 2026. We shall determine that ourselves, and we already determined it. And our candidate for 2026, whether Hakainde likes it or not, is one Edgar Chagwa. Members of the press, chairman of the Tonse Alliance, spokesperson, SG, presidents of the various members of Tonse, and leaders of the NGOs and civil society organizations that are part of Tonse. As we go out celebrating the victory in Petaoke, let us not forget what we resolved in this meeting, what we saw on the ground, that for as long as Mangala Zalomis and UPND cadres continue to superintend over ECZ, Zambia shall not know free and fair elections. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Acting President of the Patriotic Front. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take questions from the media. I must emphasize, though, that your questions should be restricted to the issues that have so far been discussed. So we shall take the first question, if any. Is there any aspect that requires clarification in terms of what we have presented so far? You are very satisfied? I must add, though, that there is a very selective approach to the way law enforcement is being done, especially with regard to the so-called guerrilla pages on social media. We have seen a number of guerrilla pages, especially on Facebook, which are affiliated to the ruling UPND, pages such as Zambia Watchdog, pages such as Causeway, pages such as Zambia Bulletin, issue a lot of inflammatory statements against our president and 2026 presidential candidate, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, as well as various members of the Tonse Alliance. And we have seen no response from either the government or the Zambia police. And yet, when pro-opposition pages on Facebook write anything to castigate government, pages such as Munyaure, pages such as Zambia Whistleblower, we hear a lot of threats from even the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu. Every time he is in Parliament, he is always issuing threats, as if he is a police officer, and yet he is a minister who is supposed to preside over policy in his ministry. Look at the welfare of officers and so on and so forth. He is always issuing threats in Parliament. Maybe we should change his name from Honorable Jack Mwimbu to Constable Jack Mwimbu. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard our position as Tonse Alliance. I want to emphasize the last point that the acting president of PF has mentioned. Our presidential candidate is President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He will be on the ballot paper in 2026. That's our position. Yeah. We're not changing. We want to emphasize that position. Thank you very much for coming. Shall we stand for the national anthem? And pray. Stand and sing of Zambia, proud and free, land of wake and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for their rights. We won freedom's fight. Oh, one strong and free. Praise be to praise be, praise be, praise be. Bless our great nation, Zambia, Zambia. Free men we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia. Praise to thee, oh, one strong and free. Prayer, President Musoma, please lead us in closing prayer.
Let's pray. Gracious Father, I want to say thank you for having seen us through up to now.
Yes.
Father, it's all by your grace that we have made it up to now. And now, Father, as we have come to the end of this meeting, we pray that you go before us and bless this nation. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Media, you will see me immediately after. Okay, we can meet downstairs. We'll meet downstairs.